The financial world order, we've heard of the new world order, and it looks like, they want digital currency, get rid of cash and everything. And, the reality is most people are using their debit and credit cards, without even realizing it. They think they have control. And I saw something, CoffeeZilla did something recently about some bank people lost all their money, and it was like kind of tough. Oh, the money was moved from here to there and disappeared. And it's like, and then in Cyprus, they kind of, the bailout, they took the money from the people there. In Greece, you were allowed to use €50. You're not really protected no matter what. And digital currency, in a way, is kind of like, we don't like you. Let's press the delete button, or let's kind of take it. Because I personally have had my accounts emptied fraudulently by government or the city and just taken, and you don't get it back no matter what you do. Like you try, so it's scary when they have easier access to it as opposed to if it's in your wallet or if you have it in gold and different things. They'd like to touch on that.
Well, and it's funny because I was just having a conversation with a friend who's Australian, but he's living in London, and he said the same thing, right? And you hear this a lot of times. I talk in the book about something called a CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency, which is usually what people are talking about, what you were just talking about right now. And it's the idea that a government could issue its funds in a digital form, right? And China has one, and I can't remember it. There's so many countries that are actively in the practice of building them because it makes sense, right? Like cash it's kind of filthy, it's inconvenient, it's expensive, it's not portable, right? Like there's a lot of, impracticalities of it. We learned during a pandemic it can actually spread disease. But to your point, on the other side, and I have an entire chapter on the decline in institutional trust, which is a global problem. If you no longer trust your government and you don't trust institutions, the idea of moving to a digital form of payment when your government could possibly hit delete or take your funds or take all your money, right, in a way that they can't with cash, this really does keep people up at nights, right? Especially when you look at like a country like China, where you have a totalitarian slash authoritarian regime that absolutely could and would do this and probably has done this. People then in democracies that kind of look at the erosion of democratic norms and the ability of a government to just do what it wants without ramifications. And they're terrified of the idea that, well, if I made all my money digital and the government has its finger on the delete button, what if I criticize it? What if I say something bad? What if I'm a dissident? What if I'm a protester? What if they make a mistake? I don't do any of those things and they just get my name wrong and leave the Y out of Roy, right? Or add a Y and take Rose money, right? There's all kinds of things that could theoretically happen. And the problem is that people just don't, a lot of people right now don't trust their governments enough to have that much power over their funds. And that's a very realistic concern. I think the problem is, as with all things in crypto, is that you need balance, right? Like I wanted to include stoicism in the book, and my publisher was like, it's already too long. You can't possibly include stoicism. So I basically talk about it, right, when I talk about the book, but I got into stoicism about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I'm a big believer in it as a philosophy for like just as a way of life. And one of the virtues is temperance, like balance in things. And the thing is when you think about a CBDC, there is 100% risk, but there's also a huge reward to it. Like Europe, I believe, is working on euro dollar basically, and there are people who may not have access to payment systems who will be able to have access to payment systems who won't pay 2, 3, 6, 7% in the intermediary fees that they're currently paying to credit cards and banks and everyone charging us to move our money. So there is an argument that good governments, trustworthy governments, might do this the right way and could build in safety provisions that would prevent people from being able to do that. But that's a lot of trust in a world where trust is declining. And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. It's a really complicated, I believe the Brits would call it a sticky wicket. And if we just do sound bites and political fear mongering, which has happened a lot in the United States when we talk about CBDCs, people just don't want it. They just say no. They'd rather pay. And that's fine. If you'd rather pay 6%, 5%, whatever your transaction processing fee is, just know that there's a cost, right, to not having government provided services. And some people would say I'm willing to pay that cost because I don't want government to have unfettered access to my funds. It's just a discussion that countries need to have. And some countries are researching it and doing it really thoroughly and really, what's the word? Like, not systemically, but intentionally and deliberately. And some countries aren't.